5-minute call on behalf of the Labour Party. Mika Waitiri.
Tēnā koe, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Labour supports the Hurunui Kaikōura Earthquakes Recovery Bill to Select Committee and joins with all the speakers that have gone formally. We acknowledge that this is the kind of last of the legislative trilogy of bills to address the tragedy that occurred in the districts of Hurunui and Kaikōura. I also want to add my acknowledgement of the recovery personnel who worked particularly immediately after the earthquake, who continue today, and obviously for those yet to come into the area to help up with the recovery. And I just want to acknowledge that. And I guess, sir, as members of this House, it's important that their work isn't done in vain, and so it makes sense that we are standing in support of this particular bill. Previous speakers have touched on it, but just in terms of the explanatory note, sir, the learnings from Christchurch earthquake is acknowledged in the explanatory note, and what I found interesting was the point around the Canterbury Earthquake Response and Recovery Act of 2010 and then the Canterbury Earthquake Recovery Act of 2011. I'm sure the Minister would know. The point was made around the mechanism attracted some criticism, but it may be of interest to the House that 60 orders in Council were made through those particular pieces of legislation. Also note that not all requests for order in Council in terms of the Christchurch example were granted, and that there was one case of successful judicial challenge. And so involving the unsuccessful challenge of the demolition of a heritage building, sir. Like previous speakers have already alluded to, I guess the checks and balances in terms of essentially how do we ensure that this bill, which is the order in Council mechanism that people have spoken about to address those communities and Council for the economic recovery, and the Minister did touch on them, so I won't repeat them, but to note that when it comes to the Select Committee, we will be scrutinising to ensure that we have got the right mix of checks and balances there, and of course interesting to hear what submitters will have to say in terms of assuring that. So I don't want to go on really much more, but I do want to acknowledge that some of us are a little jaded, having sat for quite a significant amount of time considering this bill, but I too want to add my acknowledgement of the officials that have supported our Select Committee, sir. For us to move as quickly as we can over a piece of legislation within 24 hours, as the Chair quite rightly acknowledged, requires the diligence of not only officials, and I'm talking about clerks of our Select Committee, as well as PCO in terms of the next bill that we're going to bring. What it was important for me, sir, is that when we need to move urgently in this House in dealing with I guess emergency legislation, that we are creating a standard of how we do that with all the moving parts from the Minister across party right through to officials, to ensure that we are able to respond in a timely manner when crises occur around the country. And so, sir, I just want to put that on record. I want to thank our officials. We still aren't through, but it's enough to say that without their support, sir, we wouldn't be able to pass this bill in the timely manner that I'm sure the Minister and the Government wants to do. So we look forward to this bill coming to the House, to the committee. Kia ora tātou.
Kia ora. Kia ora.